Hello there and welcome back to another edition of the Hot Lap Classic Remastered. Today we're taking a look at the 1991 Honda Prelude SI VTEC, as you can see by this very fancy font. These cars actually were quite fancy, I guess. They're sort of Honda's more luxurious coupe to the more ragtag Integra. I don't think this was actually specifically based on any form of existing Honda hatchback, even the Accord. These weren't really Accord based, they were sort of their own little thing. Now, Preludes were indeed fancy. You could get TV screens in these things as optional extras in Japan, which is interesting. This one does not have a TV screen. In fact, it's had all the weight ripped out of it. It is front engine, front wheel drive, 307 horsepower, 1,102 kilos. Not massively impressive stats, but we will see how it gets along with 6 laps of the Motorsports Land track. It's gone off those 6 laps the best time it possibly can. Current leader is the Daihatsu Storia rally car, a 28.410. The Prelude, unlikely to beat that. The Prelude, I don't really know, to be honest with you. If I was going to be a betting man, we've got the Integra 30.722 and we've got the conventional Accord of 31.103. Maybe somewhere in that region, I think, is sort of where this is going to go. I'm not 100% sure though. It could really go anywhere. Oop, we've done that thing. So that's what happens if you invalidate a lap. You sort of go through the scenery, which is interesting. So this lap obviously is not going to count. Actually, that didn't invalidate it. I could abuse that for future laps, but I'm not going to, because that is very cheesy. You know me, I don't really care too much about the track limits here, because ultimately the whole point is the car is here to set the quickest time it possibly can, and trying to keep within the track limits in these cars is just not a viable thing. So I don't really do that, but of course I am going to stay on the side of not getting too greedy. These corners here don't really matter. I do like the Prelude, actually. I prefer the later Preludes, if I'm being honest, sort of the late 90s ones as opposed to these early 90s ones, but they do have a nice rear end design and they're reasonably quick. I think this isn't a bad... If you want a first car in this game, these Preludes ain't bad. Although you've got to make sure you're buying the right Prelude, which can be a little bit tricky in the regionalization, or when this game's using its regionalization, because these cars actually have different names. I think in the base PAL version, it's like the 2 litre and the 2.2 VTEC, and the 2 litres the quicker of the two, I think is the way that works. I'm not actually 100% sure. But obviously, if you're using the Japanese version of the game, or you're indeed using the GT2 Plus mod like I am, then it's the Prelude SI and the Prelude SI VTEC, basically. I can't seem to string a good lap together with this thing. But it's operating at about where I think it should. It is a little bit understeer. You can feel the weight in this. It's, what was it, 1,102 kilos, something like that. So it's not a particularly light car. It's not bad, though. Also naturally aspirated, which, as we've discussed before, is a little bit of a curse when it comes to this track. You want sort of turbochargers for the torque, which is one thing Hondas do really suffer with. Try and get it around that last corner, blast it to the line, 31.122. Very slightly slower than the Accord with a race mod. Admittedly, I think the Accord was a little bit more powerful and potentially even lighter, but that's not like terrible, I wouldn't say, comparing it to some other stuff. Sort of front wheel drive coupe based cars, they haven't been massively competitive around here. The lap times are close. Yeah, I don't know if you could get too much more out of that, but anyways, a 31.122 will put it into 36th place. It is quicker than a Chrysler Phaeton, Vauxhall Vectra Alfa Romeo 166. Mugen Accord, that's the one without the race mod. It is quicker than the Dodge Avenger, which I guess is a relatively close parallel front-wheel drive coupe-based vehicle. Yeah, loses out to the Integra by about half a second, but it's not bad. I think later models of this car, where they have a little bit more power, should help to offset the weight a little bit, but as it stands, this one's just a little bit too weighty to be efficient, but it's still a good car. Very easy to drive. If you're sort of starting out in GT2, this is something I would recommend, just because of the ease of use of driving it. Anyways, that's it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching, and join me next time. We'll be driving something completely different. Until then, farewell.